Steve Nash out as the Brooklyn Nets head coach. Bag it, Steve Nash. Look, Steve Nash was a terrible coach. Terrible in game, terrible with substitution patterns. But if you think what's going on in Brooklyn was his fault and the 2-5 start is because Steve Nash is a bad coach and the team is dreadful in every possible way, if you think this is on Steve Nash, clearly you're not paying attention. Let me tell you who the happiest person involved with the Brooklyn Nets is today. Steve Nash. What a win. That organization is a circus, a disaster. I mean, you think about the James Harden trade last year and Harden quit on the team. You think about the Ben Simmons deal and everything they had to deal with. You think about the Kevin Durant nonsense in the offseason. You think about Kyrie Irving last season being a part-time player. You think about KD calling a shot, fire the coach, fire the GM. You think about the awful start to the season. Steve Nash is going to go watch soccer and play tennis, and he's going to be the happiest guy in America. So, Sean Marks, good luck, because somehow Kyrie Irving is still on the basketball team. And Kyrie Irving hasn't been suspended, which is a shame because Kyrie Irving is anti-Semitic. And his comments and his tweets were anti-Semitic. There's no gray area, and the fact that the Nets and Adam Silver and the Players Association are dancing around that is shameful. Oh, by the way, as we tape this show, Ime Udoka, according to Shams Charania and Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, Ime Udoka is on track to being the next head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. And by the way, that's not a surprise. We said this after Ime Udoka was suspended in Boston, that there was a very realistic chance his next job was going to be the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets the second they fired Steve Nash. Remember, Ime Udoka was with Brooklyn, with Steve Nash, with Kevin Durant, with Kyrie Irving, and those guys love him. And Ime Udoka, fantastic coach, obviously suspended, should have been fired in Boston for the way he treated females in the Boston Celtics organization. But listen, apparently Brooklyn has done enough due diligence on Ime Udoka. What a clown show. Seriously, this whole organization, it's backwards, it's awful. Firing a coach on the first day of November, 2 weeks into the season, he's not even the biggest problem. The luckiest person in the NBA today is Steve Nash. The newest member of your Miami Dolphins defense, Bradley Chubb. Wow. How about the Miami Dolphins making the biggest and best move at the NFL trade deadline today, getting a stud pass rusher, perfect for their team in defense, Bradley Chubb. I mean, this, if you're a Dolphins fan, this is everything. Bradley Chubb in that defense and giving up a first-round pick and giving up Chase Edmonds, honestly, it's fantastic. This is one of the easiest trades you'll ever make. They'll eventually get him signed. And I believe the Miami Dolphins, as we speak right now, and Tyreek Hill will agree with me, he can't believe his luck and his fortune that his team was able to get Bradley Chubb. Buffalo, Kansas City, and the Miami Dolphins. Top three teams in the AFC. And you want to talk about wheeling and dealing? This is why we raved about all the moves Miami made with the Trey Lance deal, which was a disaster, of course, for the San Francisco 49ers. To be able to take those picks and use them to get Waddle, Hill, Chubb, wow, my goodness, just sensational. Tua Tagovailoa, thankfully healthy. He shredded the Detroit Lions. By the way, tremendous win. Down 14-0. Threw the ball brilliantly to Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill, by the way, could be in the mix and could be the favorite right now for the Offensive Player of the Year in the National Football League. He did a great job, Tua did, with Waddle, with Hill, with Mike Gesicki. You look at this team, right? They also get Jeff Wilson, who obviously Mike McDaniel knew from his days in San Francisco. I think Miami is in position to make the playoffs, which is exactly what we said before the season started. That was the expectation. But now, if you watch the games if you understand how great Tua has played, how brilliant Mike McDaniel is, the impact that Tyreek Hill has on the entire organization, and now Bradley Chubb is the perfect pickup on defense, the Miami Dolphins are in position to make the playoffs, to win a playoff game, and to be a factor in the AFC. What exactly are the Chicago Bears doing? Just a bizarre couple of days for the Chicago Bears. And I have no idea why on earth Chicago is trading a second-round pick for Chase Claypool. This makes no sense. Chase Claypool for a second-round pick, and I have begged them to build around Justin Fields, which is why I begged them in the second round last year to take George Pickens, who ironically is in Pittsburgh. Chase Claypool has been an underachiever. He's been a dog. I mean, Pittsburgh has a young quarterback in Kenny Pickett, and they wanted Claypool the hell off the team because he's a knucklehead, and he's a diva, and an underachiever. Now, if you're Ryan Poles, you gotta pay him. So why would you take that second-round pick? And I know you still have one you got for Baltimore in the Roquan Smith deal, which I did think made some sense here for the Chicago Bears. You should keep the extra pick and trade it in the offseason for someone, should have kept it and traded it in the offseason for someone who's better than Chase Claypool. I mean, we've never seen him do anything at the NFL level. You have all these receivers who are changing teams, all these receivers who always want to get paid, all these wide receivers who demand out. I mean, look at what happened last year with Amari Cooper and Tyreek Hill, and what happened with Devontae Adams. And you're going to just sit there and say, Chase Claypool's my guy? Boy, makes absolutely no sense to hitch your wagon to an underachiever. And look, Justin Fields has played really solid football the last couple of weeks. I still believe in Justin Fields. I destroyed the Bears for not getting more players in the draft and free agency and trades around him this past offseason. I don't want to sound hypocritical here, but Chase Claypool is not the guy. And it's the Bears' second-round pick. Again, not the Ravens' second-round pick. So why in the world would the Bears, and they're going to sign him if you're making that trade, why would they pigeonhole themselves to go into the Chase Claypool business? Mike Tomlin's like, you, outs. And the Bears bring him in? Amateur hour. Welcome back. Time to shine. Let's shine on football on a very busy Tuesday. And if you're a Ravens fan, you got to be thrilled. Baltimore, without question, a much better football team after trading for Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith is an absolute stud. I have voted for him multiple times in his outstanding career, first-team All-Pro. He is a tackling machine. He's a big-time leader. His numbers, his style of play, it fits in with exactly what Ed Reed would do, what Ray Lewis would do. Remember, Eric DeCosta wanted to sign Bobby Wagner in the offseason, and that didn't happen, so now they go out and get Roquan Smith. And I've been of the opinion that Baltimore a dollar short in terms of making the playoffs. I didn't pick them preseason. I wasn't backing them all season. They're going to make the playoffs. The Cincinnati Bengals obviously failing on Monday Night Football is a big part of it. Plus, you look at the remaining schedule, you add a leader and a thumper, and Eric DeCosta isn't worried about giving up draft picks. It's not how it works. Remember, he traded for Marcus Peters at the deadline before. Traded for Yannick Ngakoue. Yannick Ngakoue didn't work out, so they moved on. I'll bet you they end up signing Roquan Smith. I bet you he fits in perfectly with who the Ravens are, what they do, what the identity of Ravens football is all about. This is a playoff move by the Baltimore Ravens. Perfection. Absolute perfection. How about the Minnesota Vikings today? What a trade. Don't let this fly under the radar with all the moves of the day. The Minnesota Vikings acquired tight end TJ Hockenson, and I think this is a huge deal for the Vikings, for Coach Kevin O'Connell, and for my good friend Lizzo, new man of the Minnesota Vikings. Listen, the tight end situation for Minnesota was not very good. Irv Smith wasn't producing. Irv Smith is now going on injured reserve. And you get someone like Hockenson, who's a tremendous top 10 NFL tight end. He's excellent in the passing attack. You add him with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, with Dalvin Cook. Even Kirk Cousins can't foul this one up. So here's the deal when you look at a big picture for Minnesota. The Eagles are the best team, bar none, in the NFC. Then I put San Francisco number 2. Then I put the Dallas Cowboys number 3. If we're talking about teams that can make a run in the postseason and do damage. And I know the Minnesota Vikings have a better record than the aforementioned 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. But I couldn't justify putting Minnesota higher on the list. This narrows the gap. This resonates. This has a domino effect in the locker room, the practice field. It takes Cousins, as I mentioned, to a different level, frees up a lot of the doubles and the safety help with Jefferson and Thielen. You can't cover everybody. Still have to account for Dalvin Cook. This is a fantastic, needed, difference-making deal for the Minnesota Vikings. They're going to win the division, but now we're raising the bar and the expectations for Lizzo and the Minnesota Vikings. This was a win of a deal. Love it. More news from a wild trade deadline, including, how about this? You want to talk about the ultimate shocker? Suspended wide receiver Calvin Ridley traded to Jacksonville from Atlanta. Now, we knew Calvin Ridley was never going to play for the Atlanta Falcons ever again. By the way, the draft pick, based upon contractual situation, could end up being as high as a 2. So I think that when you look at this deal, this is a win-win for everybody involved. Number 1 for the Falcons, and they're enjoying a renaissance. The Atlanta Falcons, I believe, after what happened on Sunday and with the shape of the NFC South, the Falcons are going to win the division. They are in a rebuilding, retooling year, and they're going to win the NFC South, the worst division in the National Football League. Ridley, as we mentioned, was never going to play another snap for them, so he goes to Jacksonville, where I think, again, he's not going to play it down this year. Next year, Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, Ridley has the talent to be a number 1 receiver. Doug Peterson can deal with personalities and get guys to focus. Ridley tweeted he's fired up. I think this will end up being a win-win for everyone involved. And I think for Atlanta, look, they strike, they pounce. They're banking on everything clicking for Calvin Ridley in Jacksonville to get the higher draft pick. Love this for Jacksonville. Love this and what it means in terms of focusing on winning for the Atlanta Falcons. The trades keep on coming. How about this? Running back Nyheim Hines traded to Buffalo. Start jumping through a table because this is a tremendous pickup. Indianapolis never figured out how to use Hines properly. This is a great move by the big baller, Brandon Beane. Going and seeing a problem, fixing a problem. Look, I like Devin Singletary. He's had a really good year. James Cook has started to do just that in the last few weeks. But you add Hines, this is the cherry on top to what is going to be a delicious Sunday for the Buffalo Bills winning the Super Bowl. Hines is going to help Josh Allen win games in the playoffs. And there's more. This is the equivalent of a trade. Trey White officially activated off of injured reserve, and this is like getting a superstar at the deadline. One of the best corners in the NFL, obviously, after he shattered his knee, has missed the entire season this year, and he's going to be ready and active for the Jets game coming up this weekend. More proof and evidence the Buffalo Bills are winning the Super Bowl.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.